The madness of the match between the women's teams of ROC and Canada. They played in masks. The Canadians did not go out on the ice for an hour because of our PCR tests. The Olympics in the Beijing COVID bubble threw a new scandalous case. The match between the women's teams of Russia and Canada was postponed for an hour at the request of the Canadian side. There were no sanctions for the Canadians, although a forfeit defeat is due for refusing to enter the game. In terms of sports results, nothing surprising happened in the end. Our team lost on throws 12-49 and lost with a score of 1-6, but when the match did start, the hockey players of both teams took to the ice in masks, so the game finally turned into an absurdity. What actually happened? The Canadians came to the game, but refused to go on the ice by the appointed time of the match. Not all PCR tests were ready for the Russian team. In addition, our team entered the match with an incomplete squad. Due to the positive tests taken earlier, the Russian team played in 3 links. The Maple were seriously worried about their health. Earlier, several Russian women had positive tests. Several athletes have already spoken negatively about the conditions in the COVID isolation, and no one wants to lose players in the middle of the tournament. Even in the third period, when the results of Russia's PCR tests came back, the Canadian team remained to play in masks. In addition, after the match, the ROC press service reported that Canada also had 1 positive test, right before the game with the Russian team. You should definitely not look for sports reasons in this decision. The Russian team is not a rival to the Canadians. In women's hockey, only the US team shows the same top level. Is a forfeit loss provided for refusing to enter a match? Yes. Rule 73.3 of the IIHF rulebook, if a team does not enter the ice, they will be assessed a minor penalty for delaying the game and given time, 5 minutes, to start the match. If after 5 minutes the team does not enter the court, the match is terminated according to Rule 66, and the offending team is given a forfeit defeat with a score of 0-1. But there is an important detail in the same rule. A forfeit loss is counted with IIHF prior sanction, and this is a very vague wording. Why wasn't Canada issued a technical defeat? It seems due to the eccentricities of the IIHF. The best women's team on the planet was not counted for technical defeat, since the IIHF unilaterally changed the procedure for passing tests for coronavirus. According to Match TV, earlier tests could be taken at 8 a.m. Beijing time. Today our girls passed them after breakfast. But according to the new rules of the IIHF, for the matches of the first half of the day, the test must be taken at 5 a.m. Because of this, the representative of the IIHF threatened to prevent our team from the match. After protracted proceedings and the involvement of the IOC, they decided to adhere to the regulations of the Olympic Committee. Both teams were allowed to the match, but only in masks. How did you agree to play in masks? Here is what Match TV reports. Today there was a delay at the start of the hockey match between the ROC women's team and the Canadian team. As per the discussions between the two teams, they both agreed that the match would start with both sides wearing masks. Can you play hockey with masks on? It seems impossible. It's just dangerous to health. Since hockey is a combination of intense aerobic and anaerobic exercise. Our sport quotes sports doctor Nikita Karlitsky. Athletes cannot play and train in masks due to lack of oxygen and high stress for the body. What do our girls say? Here is an interview with Match, Alexandra Vafina, a player of our women's team, during the break. Now is the time, we must adapt to any conditions. What happened? We do not quite understand. The judges gave information, we waited, everything is fine. The behavior of the Canadians did not surprise you. No, I wasn't surprised. You have to play in masks. What is it like? Unusual. But now the situation is such that we must accept all the demands that are put forward to us and play the best we can. Thank you for letting us play. Is it possible to participate in competitions with a positive test? Yes. But there is an important caveat. Here is the case of curlers from Australia. In short, Team Australia's Tally Gill and Dean Hewitt tested positive and were going home, but they were kept in China and even allowed to compete. It's all about the court indicator, or the threshold cycle. This is the number of cycles of creating additional copies of RNA, starting from which the result of a particular test is considered positive. The higher it is, the less likely it is that a person will be able to infect someone even with a positive test. There is even a specific court figure. Indicators above 30 are rated as minimal contagious. And in this case, if the athlete does not have symptoms, the following IOC rule applies to him. Athletes and participants in the games with a positive test result and asymptomatic course of the disease will be discharged out of isolation as soon as they have 2 consecutive negative PCR test results 24 hours apart.